Hello, this is Tokyo State of Mind, the only podcast that is gluten free and rich of proteins. Have you ever thought about starting a hobby in Tokyo or anywhere in Japan? This episode of Tokyo State of Mind is gonna explore how to rediscover your passion in a new place. And today's guest is my friend Mike Mocarski, who is a photographer, a very passionate photographer who will share his journey of doing photography in Tokyo, his personal struggles, his victories and failures, and
That's what you like, right?
right, that's what I need. Mic check, mic check. Mike Mocarski in the
I'm
studio.
here.
Yay! Thanks for coming, Mike.
It's great to see you again.
Yeah, right. After all this time, so for our listeners, we wanted to know what brings you to photography. Because I remember that you were the student in Korean university, like focused on journalism, and when at that time there was not even like a single talk about photography or Japan in general. So can you share how your journey started?
Oh yeah, that's a very long story. So just to explain it better from right the beginning, my let's call it international journey started about 8 years ago in Korea when I became an international student of Kyung University, one of the universities there. I majored in journalism and communication, just like you.
Just like me, yeah.
Just like you. That's where we met. And around that time, especially when I was majoring there, I'm kind of, I always thought that the thing I was supposed to do is what I'm talented in, and what I was told that I'm talented in since I was very young is writing. Since I was super young, since I just learned how to scribble, how to doodle, I learned. Everybody was telling me that, oh, you've got talent. You should work on your writing. You should try. Maybe you'll become a writer, a novelist in the future, or maybe a journalist or something. So that's how I ended up in journalism. But doing writing professionally, I tried doing that for some internships, for some short programs, and also the universities, and I wasn't so passionate about it. Um, so at the end of the day, I didn't decide to pursue my career in journalism or any like writing related career. Um, and around the same time, one thing I was doing at that time was I was writing a traveling blog, just a very small one. Nobody, I think all my parents were only people who were trying to read that.
No way. I was reading it too. And I remember your pictures were amazing. And those actually were the first pictures that you took back when you were traveling in Japan.
Yes, yes. So, but actually, it started even before that. When I was traveling still in Korea, and I was just taking pictures with my smartphone. Why did it happen? Because for the first like 2 years when I was in Korea, I focused so much on like developing my writing and working on my career. I haven't even traveled inside Korea, even though I was living there for such a long time. So I decided to travel by myself, just go for backpacking trips. Um, and because just sightseeing and doing nothing felt weird for me, I was taking pictures of things just with my smartphone, and I learned how much I enjoyed it. So yeah, so for the first like a year, about 2 years, for the first 2 years, I was shooting just with smartphone, and then I decided to buy a camera. And camera, it was just so exciting to start shooting with it. But still, I was just using it as an amateur for the next about 3 years. Um, and after that, slowly, I was realizing that photography is my true passion. And it there was this time already in Japan. So we're talking right now. I spent 5 years in Korea. I shot as an amateur photographer for about 3 years there, and a little bit in Japan after moving from Korea to Japan. And then in Japan, when I was a student of graduate school, and I already had to really think serious about my career, I didn't really have an idea what do I want to be doing in my life. I always thought that I enjoyed traveling so much, so maybe I should find a job that allows me to travel and enjoy doing it. But one day, it was just a random moment. It wasn't anything special. I think I was just walking, and I got this idea that what am I? Why am I enjoying traveling so much? What do I enjoy about traveling? that made me realize I actually enjoy photography. And I think it's not that I enjoy photography because I'm traveling, but I enjoy traveling because I'm taking pictures. And that was just like that was this eureka moment. That was a huge realization for me that this is what I want to be doing. Um, and also around that time, one of my friends from graduate school, uh, we just met at random, and she told me that she failed a modeling audition. She was trying to get to a modeling agency, but she failed an audition. At that time, I was thinking about photography so much, and I was thinking maybe it's the right way. So I just made this joke, "Hey, want to model for me?" And she did that, and we did a photo shoot, and it was so much fun. And the photos, when I look back, they were horrible. They were just really bad. But it was still my first work, and I was just so happy to work with her. And since then, I was slowly starting to think about working as a professional photographer. With each photo shoot, I was more and more. I was persuading even myself that maybe I can do that. Maybe I should try doing it as a professional. And yeah, a dream is becoming a plan.
Nice. And what do you think was that factor that made you think that maybe I cannot do it? Like, even though you're staying here and there are so many different opportunities, what was something that you consider to be an obstacle?
Look, everybody will tell you that it's so hard to make a living with art. Yeah, right? And there is tons of people who couldn't make it as a photographer. And it's scary. Honestly, it's scary. There is a lot of different safer options, but at the same time, a lot of people are still making it, right? There are people who are making it, and why? There is a chance I can do that. Why not me?
That's cool. Yeah,
Right?
I agree. I agree.
It's a big risk, of course, but at the same time, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be satisfied with myself if I didn't try. If I try and I fail, it's okay. And then I'll just work as a whatever, office worker or something. Not to mean that the office workers are better or anything, but I don't enjoy it.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but if I succeed, I feel like I'll be the happiest person in the world, really.
But I guess even going through this journey right now is already fulfilling.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. It is a bit anxious, especially nowadays with coronavirus. But we have to adapt.
That's cool. And what do you think makes Tokyo and Japan in general a special place for doing photography? What is something about this place that uh, makes it different and impacts your work?
Oh yeah, so there are a few things. The first thing is the most probably obvious thing is that Tokyo and Japan overall, it's super safe. So I can travel with expensive equipment and I don't have to be worried that somebody will steal it. Or at least, yeah, I think, of course, I try to keep it safe, but I'm not worrying all the time. Whenever I take my equipment in other countries, and not even very special, especially dangerous countries, but just anywhere else, there's this anxiety that there's this fear that somebody might steal it or something might happen. While in Japan, I'm not worried at all. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Tokyo is extremely diverse. Like it's so diverse. You cannot really define Tokyo because there's so many different faces of Tokyo. So you have the traditional face that's like traditional temples, old temples like Asakusa or Meiji Jingu. You have the uber modern space, but you also have this like uh, modern, like 19th, 20th century Western style, the Showa style, right? And there's so many different faces of Tokyo. It's very hard to define it, but very easy to make different variety of creative work of photography. I can just try so many different things only within the city. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and there are a lot of also weird places.
That's not really my style, but it's also fun.
I see. So I understand that even like with taking photography, like from the amateur hobby and like to the professional level that you're doing right now, it was quite a long way. Was a lot of like maybe some little but very irritating things like failures and mistakes. If you were to look back, like to the on the first day when you just started thinking about photography, at least as an amateur, what would be this thing that you wished you had done or you hadn't done?
I can definitely say I wish I had just from right from the beginning I had invested all of my free time and all of my efforts into photography. Just stop thinking about other things. I wish I wasn't as anxious. I wish I was just I just committed myself to photography completely when I realized that that's the thing. Um, but I also know that at least what I believe about us, about humans, is that our brains like to lie to ourselves a lot, and it's not only worries that might lie to us, but also overconfidence is not good either. So I needed this time to check whether my commitment to photography, whether this eureka moment, this is what I want to be doing, how long it will stay with me. This is why for the first about year or 2 years I was just doing it slowly for fun and just to find out whether I want to be doing it or not. But now I wish that I just invested it all at the beginning. Actually, I wish I tried doing it even before that. I wish I started maybe in Korea, um, because I started doing it professionally when I was about 25, 26, and I have to compete with people who started when they were like 15, right? That 10 years of experience is a lot. Um, so yes, I wish I started earlier, definitely.
What about common mistakes that people do when they start photography or to start any other hobby?
I think the biggest mistake people do is just give up too easily
Hmm.
after the first criticism. So, oh yeah, so what happened after the first photo shoot? I showed it to my father, and he was very excited because he also like the photos, and he showed the photos to his friend who's like very professional and famous photographer in Poland. Um, and I got so roasted. I got really roasted. That was very bad. Like my dad showed him like I don't know about 50 photos, and the guy was like, "Yes, I kind of like one of them." So wow, one of them, kind of. Thank you. So he sent me this huge email. What is wrong with my photography? And that was I remember of course, I took it as a lesson, but that was very hard lesson, very heavy. I just remember that I needed to take a walk and just remind myself, this is good for you. Criticism is good for you. This man is very, is professional. You should listen what he has to say to you. Um, and I think a lot of people would give up at this moment,
Especially because this guy also maybe sent you the criticism in Polish language, so
which is
it
pretty rough.
it hit you hard, right? Because I think also when it comes to podcasts, like when people say something in Russian, it's like, damn,
Mhm.
that's when it becomes very serious, something like this.
Yes, Japan, especially of course Japanese, very very polite language, but English I think too. In English, if you criticize, you kind of do it in a soft way,
Constructive way.
constructive way. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
you say the good things first, and then you slowly go to what doesn't work, right?
yes, exactly. And what that guy sent me, it was basically just as I told you. Yeah, I kind of like one of them.
But at least he liked one of those.
Kind of.
Kind of. Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. So a lot of people would give up at this moment, but yeah, I took it as a lesson, and now I know my work is better. I know that my work is good. It's a professional level, but I've never contacted him again. I really wish someday he will see one of my photos just at random somewhere in a magazine maybe.
Or on
Uh,
our podcast.
that would be great. That would be amazing. Yeah, and I hope that someday he will see. That's his photo. That's how much he's improved. I would be so proud of myself.
I see. Yeah, I can relate to
Hmm.
that feeling. So, looking at your works, you the feeling of your photography, the feel that people get while looking at them, is you're trying to create a very romantic image of um, people. So you work with portraits and models, and just some cute couples. Plus, the feel that I also get from your works is it's very like cinematic. So sometimes when I look at your pictures, I'm like, damn, it looks like some drama cover.
Thank you.
And but what in reality are you trying to what kind of story or what kind of feeling are you trying to evoke through your works?
Look, that's the thing. There's no story. That's
Okay.
the most important thing. I talked actually recently. I talked about it with my friend who asked me the same question. I got recommended that photography should be about storytelling. You should do it about story. But besides being photographer, I'm also a researcher. When you're a researcher, you need to everything has to be very cohesive. Everything has to be perfect, logical, and everything has to make sense. And I really like the fact that my photography doesn't have to make sense. That I can just make up things. I can just create my own world, and it doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to be connected. It just raw presents of art from my heart, and also as a collaboration of the model's heart. I just love this combination, this feeling, and this lack of structure. That's the other part of my life requires a structure, but this part of my life doesn't, and that's something that gives me a lot of satisfaction. So yeah, I'm not trying to construct any story. There is an idea. There is a visual idea I have. Sometimes let's say I just walk somewhere and I see a place that would look good in a picture, and then I take a picture of that place. I point it on Google Maps. I just flag it, save it for later, and then I have right now about, I don't know, maybe about 100 pins all around Tokyo, and later I can invite someone to that place and take pictures there. Um, so yes, so it's just there is a place where I think it would be fun to shoot. There is a person I think that it would be fun to shoot. I might invite them there and just take pictures, and it doesn't have to give you any story or anything. It's just there.
And what were the other like tips and tricks that you learned along the way that helped you to make your work more efficient and better in general?
More efficient and better. So for instance, it's really good to use. There is a lot of tools for photographers. So whenever you need something, it's good to just Google what do you need to do. Just idea. So for instance, nowadays I started using online albums for my clients, so I can present my work better. Before I wouldn't do that. Before I would just upload files on Google Drive. But nowadays, thanks to this, I think that my clients are more satisfied with my work. So if I tried to find, so how did I find it? I was trying to learn more about client management, and then I realized that a lot of photographers are doing those online albums. Before I hadn't really thought about it, and so I was trying to solve the problem. I was trying to solve how to make my clients more satisfied with my work, and that was the answer. Just try to do something with the delivery, try to make it look more luxurious, more special, more premium. Um,
Maybe also more personal.
yes, exactly. But so that's one of the tools. Another tool I'm using. There's an app that shows you which time of the day is the golden hour, so the perfect time for shooting. I love golden hour. It's the time when just to explain, is the time when it's either before the sunset or just after sunrise, when the light becomes very golden, very orange, and it reflects very nicely, especially of people's hair and of people contours. And that's my favorite time to shoot. And there is an app that will tell you when is the golden tower in your location, at what time, until what time. So that's very useful. I have light meter in my phone as well. That can help me measure the light that I need to take photos, especially in studio. So there's tons of tools you can use. You just have to browse through all of them and find what's useful for you.
I see. And since you're here in Japan, you half of your clients are Japanese people, and how do you? I think a lot of people think that you have to be really like speaking Japanese like perfectly or something
That's
to
not the way.
work
That's
with.
not the case.
So how do you manage working with Japanese clients? Um, like how do you speak the language, or um, you use a gestures? How does it work?
Yes, just gestures, really. Just show them how to pose. Just do the pose yourself. That's the easiest way. I practice my poses by myself in front of the mirror, and then I just showed it to clients. Like really. Sometimes I show the picture also. Let's say I have some, especially for couples. I have some poses that are uh, prepared before that. I know that will work well. So I just show the pictures, and then they know how to do that pose as well. I don't really talk much to Japanese clients, to be honest. I smile, I ask Genki, and I can chat a little bit, but I also know that not to try too much, to focus more on my work as a photographer.
Um, are there any cultural barriers when it comes to working with local clients?
Japanese couples are very shy,
Hmm.
very shy, and they're shy in front of each other. They're shy to each other, not only to me as a cameraman, but also to each other. So it's sometimes it's hard to make with foreign couples, especially with the Western couples. It's not so much. They will just do the cinematic pose right away. It looks like Titanic. It looks like all of the movies. It's great. With Japanese couples, they just like they don't know what to do. They don't do it naturally. Um, so I definitely have to show them how it looks, and then give them some time to start laughing. Maybe say a joke, say something funny in Japanese, and then capture when they're laughing, and that's when they relax. But then when I show them the good pictures, like the photos where they look very well, then they relax a little bit, and they do more and more effort to be relaxed, and they have more fun. But always it's very hard to break ice with them. Even to each other, I mean, they seem very awkward when they're hugging. At least some of the couples. You just have to teach them how to hug. That's what I do. I'm a hug sensei. That's not the
Nice.
thought.
That can be an alternative career, you know.
Yeah, I won't pressure that one. But yeah, that's what you have to do. They're not prepared to do that. So yeah, but at the end of the day, they're always having fun. That's the most important part for me.
That's true. That's true. The same with our podcast, pretty much.
Yeah.
How do you manage to keep on with this COVID situation? How do you manage to uh, work on your photography these days?
So basically, um, first thing I usually do, I avoid photo shoots inside Tokyo, within Tokyo, especially the busy areas, as much as as possible. Um, I usually either try to go to places like Saitama, like Kanagawa, or
That's true.
sometimes
There's no one in
Tetsuki.
Saitama.
That's true. That's true. They have a lot of amazing locations there, especially amazing gardens and parks, and they're not very crowded. So that's the first time I'm trying to do. If there is no other options, if it's in Tokyo, I avoid busy areas as much as possible. If it has to be busy area, then I always ask to meet as early in the morning as possible. Usually before the rush hour, so we can just take our time without having crowds around us. um, it's very difficult to shoot while wearing masks, because I have to move around. I have to hold my camera, take pictures. I have to give commands. I have to talk a lot, and I end up being very tired very quickly. So whenever I can, I also take a break just to breathe, just to relax, and then give also time to my clients to relax, to breathe. Yeah. Nowadays, when it's very hot, nowadays I don't really shoot much, but it's also not season for photo shoots in Japan, so there's not much client anyways. It's gonna come back during autumn leaves, and I cannot wait for that. It's so exciting.
Yeah, and also I think because of the corona thing, there are not many tourists here now, and now you can definitely see that you're living in Japan because you don't see a lot of foreign faces, pretty much, right?
That's true. That's so true. Yes.
What does Tokyo mean to you? You are already living here like for quite a long time.
Over 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to summarize like uh, how this place helped you, changed you, and challenged you, what would you say about it?
As I told you, it's hard to say Tokyo. Tokyo has so many different faces. It's hard to say anything. And the place where I live, for instance, it's a residential area that feels like a countryside in my country. It's just so slow and peaceful and nice. But what I love the most is that I can just take one train and go to Shinjuku and just be in the busiest area in the world. So I love the diversity of Tokyo. It allows me to have a lot of different kinds of lifestyle. If I want to withdraw and rest, I can withdraw and rest. If I want to stay and do crazy things, I can just stay and do crazy things. Um, so the diversity also compared, for example, with Seoul, I love Seoul, but Tokyo it's more international. It's more and it accepts, it embraces this internationality more. I think it makes it, it's kind of like Japanese culture overall has this thing when they accept something from like they import something and then make it their own.
Exactly.
With everything, right? And I think Tokyo also does it to us, to the international residents. We come here, we learn the slang, we use Japanese words even though we speak English, and we become Tokyo people. But we also give something from ourselves. It's not like Tokyo doesn't change. Tokyo also changes together with expat community. So I love how it embraces this international place. It's so much different than other cities in Japan. It's so much different than other cities in the world.
What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned by living here and doing your photography?
The biggest lesson I've learned while living here and doing my photography, networking is very important. Networking is so important, and luckily in Tokyo you can network so well because there's so many people here, right? There are millions of people living here. There's a lot of expat, and I just, yeah, I realized that how networking is important because most of my work still comes through word of mouth, through my friends. When they introduce me to someone, that's where most of my work comes. So if I want more work, I need more friends, basically.
What about personal growth?
What about personal growth? I think networking growth is a personal growth too, because you grow with other people.
That's true. Exactly.
That's also a lesson. You cannot achieve everything by yourselves.
Yes.
That's an important lesson. Um, so yes, that's I think that by making myself trying to go to different places and meet various people, I'm learning a lot how important are all of those connections. Not only the closest connections, but also those weak connections, people you just meet once or twice in your life. It's still very important.
They still can teach you some cool lessons.
Definitely, everybody has something to teach you.
So cool. And yeah, and we also personally learned so much about photography from you, about the composition, about the golden hour.
Oh
So
yes,
thank you, Mike.
yes, happy to be with you.
So thank you, Mike, so much for sharing your insight and all the tips and tricks with our listeners. And it was definitely very great to hear your story because I'm sure a lot of people who are coming here or aspiring to come here, they're considering like finding new passions, finding new hobbies, finding new networks, and now they know how that works pretty much. And if you are interested in a certain topic, please let us know in comments below, and we'll try to find you the best guest to talk about this topic on our podcast. So please like and subscribe us, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.